ready to journey back to ancient Sumer.
Sounds fascinating.
We're going on a deep dive into the myths and hymns surrounding Innana.
The Queen of Heaven.
Exactly. And our guide for this journey is the book, Innana, Queen of Heaven, Her Hymns and Stories from Sumer.
Written by Diane Wolkstein and Samuel Noah Kramer.
Right. We'll be tracing Innana's evolution from, well...
a determined young woman.
Yeah.
To a powerful, influential goddess.
Powerful is an understatement.
Whew.
We'll explore her relationships with other gods.
And, of course, decipher the rich symbolism woven through her tale.
So much symbolism. It's going to be a wild ride. What do you think? Why are these ancient Sumerian myths still so captivating to us today?
Well, they offer us a window into a worldview that's both complex and,
nuanced.
Yeah, nuanced. They grapple with these universal human experiences, like love and loss, ambition and power.
The eternal dance between life and death.
Exactly. And it's pretty amazing how stories from so long ago can still resonate with us today.
It really is. So let's start our journey, shall we?
With
the hulupu tree. This story takes us back to the very beginning.
The very beginning.
Of creation. Just after heaven and earth have separated, we're introduced to Innana, already a strong-willed figure who sets her sights on this magnificent hulupu tree.
Now, the hulupu tree itself, it's a powerful symbol. It represents the merging of opposing forces in the cosmos.
Opposing forces like?
Well, you have life and death, light and darkness, male and female.
Wow.
All intertwined within this one tree.
So it's like a microcosm of the universe.
Exactly, like a mini-universe.
Okay, so Innana wants to use the hulupu tree's wood.
For a very specific purpose.
To create a throne and a bed fit for a queen.
Of course.
But she can't just waltz in and take it, right?
There are some obstacles in her path.
Obstacles.
A snake and the fearsome Anzu bird have made the hulupu tree their home.
Oh, no. So they represent the challenges Innana must overcome.
They do. And what's really interesting here is she can't do it alone.
Interesting. She needs help. Even a goddess.
Even a goddess. And this is where Gilgamesh comes in.
Oh, yeah, the legendary hero king.
He steps up to help Innana by slaying the snake.
So he clears the way for her to claim the tree. That kind of reminds me of,
the classic damsel in distress.
Yeah. The knight rescuing the damsel trope.
But with a Sumerian twist.
Oh, for sure, a Sumerian twist. Would you say that Innana is a damsel in distress?
I wouldn't go that far.
Okay.
She's far from helpless. But you're right to point out the importance of collaboration here.
Right.
Even powerful goddesses sometimes need help.
To overcome obstacles.
Exactly. I think it speaks to this interconnectedness of all beings. We often rely on each other to achieve our goals.
It's true. I think about that all the time in, my work. Sometimes I feel like I have to do everything myself, and I get stuck.
It happens to the best of us.
Yeah. We were even talking about this the other day, about bringing in some extra help on that project I'm working on.
And sometimes that's all it takes. A fresh perspective.
Sometimes. We're just an extra pair of hands.
Exactly, to get things moving again.
So the hulupu tree, it's not just about Innana getting a fancy bed and throne.
No, it's about collaboration, and it shows that even a powerful goddess sometimes needs a hero.
We don't always have to go it alone. I love that. So next, we'll dive into Innana and the God of Wisdom. This is where we meet Enki, right?
Yes, Enki, who resides in the Abzu.
And the Abzu is?
Oh, it's more than just a home.
Okay.
It's a sacred place, a source of immense power.
Filled with?
Me. Divine powers or decrees governing various aspects of existence.
Whoa, the me. They sound powerful.
They are. They shape how the world works. They're like,
building blocks of civilization.
Yeah, exactly. The rules of the game.
And Innana, being Innana.
She wants these me for herself.
Naturally. She's ambitious. But how does she get them from Enki?
Well, she travels to the Abzu. And through a mix of...
cleverness.
Yeah. Cleverness, charm, and a strategically planned feast.
A feast.
Yes, a feast.
That's amazing. She basically outsmarts Enki to get what she wants.
She does. It's a bold move.
It really is. She's not afraid to go after what she desires, even if it means, tricking a god.
She's not afraid of a little challenge.
And of course, it wouldn't be a good myth without an escape scene.
Right? Yeah. You know it. Enki realizes he's been tricked and sends all these creatures after her.
To stop her.
To get the me back.
It's like an action movie. She has to use all her wit and cunning to get away.
And she does.
That's Innana. Always one step ahead. She outsmarts all of Enki's obstacles.
And she returns to Uruk triumphant.
With the me.
With her newfound powers.
Talk about a power move. So, what do you think this story is trying to tell us? About knowledge, wisdom, power.
Well, on one level, it's a metaphor for gaining knowledge. In Nana's journey to the Abazu, it shows us that even wisdom, even these sacred powers, can be challenged and claimed, yes, by those who are brave enough to seek them out.
And clever enough.
Of course, clever enough.
It makes me think about, what knowledge or expertise I'd like to claim in my own life. What about you?
That's a great question. What skills would help us overcome the challenges we face?
What knowledge would really empower us? Something to think about. Okay, for our next story, we're shifting gears a bit.
From wisdom to romance.
Yeah, we're going to delve into the courtship of Innana and Dumuzi.
Ah, love and marriage.
With all its complexities.
It's a story that
goes deeper than it looks on the surface.
Yes. It explores this interplay between the divine and the mortal realms.
Oh, interesting.
And raises questions about,
Go on.
about our passions, our desires.
And our responsibilities.
Exactly. The things we're bound to do versus what our hearts want.
Let's introduce Dumuzi. He's a shepherd, right?
Is.
Which seems kind of, a humble profession for a goddess's consort.
True, but he's also presented as a kingly figure.
A kingly shepherd.
Yes.
Okay, so that dual nature is what makes him so fascinating.
Right. He embodies both the groundedness of the natural world and the potential for leadership.
He's bridging those two worlds, the down-to-earth and the divine.
That's a great way to put it.
And it's the sun god Utu who encourages Innana to choose Dumuzi.
Utu sees the potential in their union.
Yeah.
For a power couple that will ensure the land's fertility.
So the gods are concerned with practical matters like agriculture.
It seems they are. A fruitful harvest depends on a balance.
The balance.
Between the divine and the earthly. I think that resonates even today.
It does. We still depend on the natural world.
For everything. And we're always trying to find that balance between our own needs and the needs of the planet.
I see the connection. So let's talk about the actual courtship. The myth is filled with these vivid images.
Lush fields.
Shared meal.
Intimate moment.
And paints a picture of a very passionate relationship.
It does. But there's also a sense of foreshadowing. A hint that things might not be easy.
Uh-oh. So their love story isn't a simple fairy tale?
Not quite. It reflects the complexities of real-world love.
And partnerships.
Right.
And the source of that complexity is?
Well, as Dumuzi takes on more responsibility as king, it creates some tension with Innana.
Distance.
The demands of duty clashing with their romantic love.
That's something a lot of people can relate to, right?
I think so. Juggling work and relationships is tough. It's a challenge many of us face.
Finding that balance.
Yeah, between what we have to do and what we long for. Oh, it's a challenge for sure. Trying to balance all those different parts of life. And speaking of balancing acts, our next story takes us to a realm where
the stakes are much higher.
Exactly. The underworld. In the descent of Innana.
Oh, right.
Innana decides to journey to the underworld, the domain ruled by her sister, Ereshkigal.
Now, the underworld isn't known for being, pleasant.
It's not exactly a vacation spot.
What motivates Innana to make this trip?
That's one of the most intriguing things about this myth.
What is?
The reasons for Innana's descent. They're a bit ambiguous. Some scholars see it as a power move,
Like she's trying to expand her control?
Yeah. Others see it as a journey of self-discovery.
Interesting. Like she's confronting those
darker aspects of her nature.
Yeah. Whatever her reasons, going to the underworld.
It's a risky move. It's a place of shadows and unknowns.
Where the normal rules don't apply.
Exactly.
And does Innana, powerful goddess that she is, does she get any special treatment down there?
None whatsoever. As she passes through the 7 gates of the underworld.
7 gates.
She's stripped piece by piece of her power and status.
It's like she's being
dismantled.
Yeah, piece by piece.
Each gate is a stage in her descent, into vulnerability.
Wow. So even a goddess can experience that kind of vulnerability.
It makes her story that much more relatable, I think.
It does. Because we've all felt that way at some point, right?
Stripped bare. Exposed.
Maybe it's a job loss or, a relationship ending.
Times when we're forced to confront our deepest fears.
This descent into the underworld, it's like a journey.
Into our own shadow selves.
Yeah, our shadow selves. Those parts of ourselves we'd rather not acknowledge.
The darker impulses, the negative emotions.
Okay, back to Innana. It doesn't sound like things are going well for her down there.
No, they take a very dark turn. Ereshkigal, the queen of the underworld,
Innana's sister.
She's angered by Innana's intrusion. She condemns Innana to death.
Oh, wow. Even a goddess isn't immune to death. It's a reminder that
Life can be unpredictable.
Unfair, painful.
And sometimes we experience profound loss.
But even in those dark moments,
there's always hope.
So what happens? Does Innana stay dead?
Fortunately, no. Innana has a very loyal servant.
Ninshuber.
Ninshuber doesn't give up on her. She travels to the other gods,
Pleading for help.
and eventually she convinces Enki, the god of wisdom, to intervene.
So Enki saves Innana from death.
He does.
But I bet it's not that easy. She can't just walk out of the underworld, can she?
The underworld has rules.
Rules.
You can't just leave. Someone has to take your place.
Someone has to die in her stead. And this is where Dumuzi comes back into the picture.
He does.
I'm sensing a tragic ending for Dumuzi.
Well, after Innana's return, Dumuzi, he's not exactly mourning her absence. He's neglecting his kingly duties.
That doesn't sound good.
And ultimately, this inaction seals his fate.
So he becomes the substitute.
Yes. The Gala, the demons of the underworld, they capture him, drag him down to the realm of the dead.
And Innana? What does she do?
She witnesses all of this. She doesn't intervene.
She just lets it happen. Why?
It's complicated. I mean, imagine what she's just been through.
Okay, yeah. She's experienced the horrors of the underworld firsthand.
She's been stripped of her power, faced death.
And now she has to choose.
Between her freedom and the life of someone she loves.
Wow, that's a lot to process. It's almost like survivor's guilt, isn't it?
Yeah, I think that's part of it. She's been traumatized. And it's possible she's still... Yeah. So I don't think it's just coldness or indifference. It's more about the trauma she's endured.
It definitely makes her a more complex character. Not simply good or bad, but human.
Yeah.
Flawed, like all of us. So Dumuzi is stuck in the underworld.
Well, that's where his sister Geshtina comes in.
Oh, right. Dumuzi's sister.
She's heartbroken over her brother's fate. Her grief is so powerful. It affects the whole land. And her lamentations reach Innana.
And Innana's moved by this.
I think so. Innana, maybe reflecting on her own experiences, recognizes the injustice of Dumuzi's fate.
And the depth of Geshtina's love for her brother.
Exactly. So Innana, she makes a compromise.
What kind of compromise?
She decrees that Dumuzi and Geshtina will each spend half the year in the underworld.
And half the year in the world of the living.
Right. So it's the cyclical arrangement back and forth.
A balance between life and death.
Exactly. It's a reminder of the cyclical nature of life, you know.
The ebb and flow.
The seasons.
Light and darkness.
And it also speaks to the power of love and loyalty.
Geshtina's love for her brother helps to soften his fate.
Yes.
It reminds me of other myths that deal with this cyclical theme.
Oh, like what?
The Greek myth of Persephone and Demeter.
Oh, yes.
Where Persephone spends part of the year in the underworld with Hades.
And part of the year with her mother, Demeter.
Right. It's a common theme, this idea of a cycle of life and death, of loss and renewal.
And I think these myths highlight the importance of connection.
Compassion.
Even in the face of death.
Our journey through the underworld with Innana, it's been intense.
It has.
But it's also been a reminder of the importance of human connection.
Having those people in our lives who will stand by us.
No matter what, our own personal ninshubers.
Exactly.
So from the depths of the underworld, let's shift our focus to a more celebratory part of Innana's story.
Oh, good.
We're moving on to the 7 hymns to Innana.
These are a real contrast to the stories we've just been discussing.
Yeah.
They're celebratory.
Full of praise.
For Innana.
In all her glory, her power, her beauty.
They show us a very different side of her.
A multifaceted goddess.
Yes. She's a force of nature.
A warrior.
A lover.
A queen.
She embodies the full spectrum of human experience.
The highs and the lows. The good and the bad.
Right.
So these hymns are like the culmination of Innana's journey.
Yeah, I think of them as like a grand finale.
Okay.
They showcase Innana in all her complexity and power.
I love that. And they really show us the awe that the ancient Sumerians felt for her.
They do. For example, in one hymn, she's described as a loud, thundering storm.
Oh, wow. A force to be reckoned with.
And in another, she's called the Lady of the Evening and the Lady of the Morning.
So she embodies time, the cosmos.
It's interesting how the hymns often focus on her actions, her movements, her presence.
Instead of just describing her looks.
Exactly. It's like we can almost feel her energy radiating from the words.
It's like hearing the echoes of the ancient Sumerians chanting these hymns.
Praising Innana, and that's the power of myth and poetry, isn't it? It can transport us across time and space.
Connect us to something larger than ourselves. So what resonates with you most about these hymns?
Good question. I think it's Innana's dynamism. She's not confined to just one role.
Not just a goddess of love or a goddess of war.
Right. She's a multifaceted being. And I think that's something we can all aspire to.
To be more well-rounded.
Yeah.
To embrace our own complexities.
Yes. And not be afraid to express the full range of our emotions and experiences.
To be like Innana, a force of nature.
A warrior. A lover.
It really is incredible how these stories from thousands of years ago can still feel so relevant to us today.
Yeah, these Sumerian myths, they're more than just like entertainment.
Right.
They really make you think about the big questions,
The big questions like,
what's our purpose? How do we deal with loss? What is power, really? And they don't give you easy answers.
No.
But they give you a way to think about these things.
a framework.
Yeah, a framework.
Okay, so thinking about Innana's story, she goes through so much.
Oh.
From ambitious young woman to powerful goddess, she experiences amazing triumphs and then crushing losses.
And she has to confront, the darkest parts of herself along the way.
What would you say is the biggest takeaway from her story? What are we supposed to learn from Innana?
I think the most important thing is she shows us that you can be strong and vulnerable at the same time. She's a warrior goddess, no doubt.
Not afraid to go after what she wants.
Exactly. But she also has a huge capacity for love and compassion.
And she suffers too.
Oh, yeah.
She goes through some real pain.
She does. I think her story reminds us that we're all complex, right?
We're not all good or all bad.
We're capable of great things and, terrible mistakes.
And sometimes it's those really tough experiences.
Those descents into our own personal underworlds.
Yeah, that idea of a personal underworld.
It's such a good metaphor.
It makes me think about those times when I felt totally lost.
Broken, even.
Like I was in this dark, unfamiliar place.
And often looking back.
It was in those dark times that I learned the most.
About yourself.
Yeah, about myself. And discovered strength I didn't know I had.
That's the thing about these myths. They teach us that growth.
It comes through discomfort.
Yeah, it comes from facing our fears, embracing the unknown.
Innana had to face her shadow self.
In the underworld.
We all have to face those parts of ourselves.
That we'd rather not see.
But that's where the real transformation happens.
Exactly. In the shadows.
So if Innana could give us some advice for navigating those difficult times,
those personal underworlds,
what would she say?
I think, first of all, she'd say, be bold. Don't be afraid to go after what you want, even if it's hard.
Be bold.
Yeah, and be resilient. Life is going to knock you down, but it's about getting back up.
Yeah.
And never underestimate the power of compassion.
Compassion for?
For yourself and for others. We're all just trying to figure things out.
We all have our own struggles.
Yeah, our own journeys through the underworld.
So be kind.
A little kindness goes a long way.
It really does. It's amazing to me that these myths,
from such a different culture,
can still teach us so much.
It shows you how universal these human experiences are.
Love and loss, hope and despair.
Yeah.
It's all part of being human.
Exactly. And that's why these stories still resonate with us today. They give us guidance, inspiration.
Remind us that we're not alone.
And that even when things are really bad, there's always hope.
Hope for what?
For change, for growth, for renewal.
That's a powerful message. Well, what a journey this has been. From creation to the underworld and back again.
We've covered a lot of ground.
We've explored Innana's story and all those fascinating symbols.
And gotten a glimpse into this ancient world.
The power of storytelling is really incredible.
It is. And this is just the tip of the iceberg, really.
Tip of the iceberg.
I mean, there's so much more to explore in Sumerian mythology.
So you're saying?
I'm saying go read those hymns.
Okay.
Dive deeper into the source material. Let those images and metaphors really sink in.
There's a whole world waiting to be discovered.
Exactly. Happy reading.
Happy reading. And until next time, keep exploring.